Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Partner Awesome Podcast. My name is Jason Asher, along with Ryan Albretsen, a hydrated Ryan Albretsen, might I add.
Absolutely.
And today we're gonna finish off our three-part series on deployment forms, something that we've been extremely successful here with a Partner Awesome, both here and at previous positions. So Ryan, how are we? I know you have a nice tone to your face today. You had some water.
Yeah.
Right before we started recording. How's it going?
I'm a little disappointed, Jason, because I said I really didn't have time to do this today, as I wanted to really dedicate most of my day to the Taylor Swift album drop. I haven't had a chance to get to the whole thing yet, but I told you I'd be here. I'm here, but just know this is a big day for the Swifties.
As a 49ers fan, I'm gonna be like, okay, fine, I get it. You want to welcome yourself to New York or shake it up, hey? But no more mention of her on the podcast today. We don't.
I don't want to create any bad blood between us.
You know how you don't talk about Bruno. We don't talk about. Well, we don't talk about Taylor. Nothing personal.
Fine. Okay,
I have two daughters. God bless them, and they listen to her a lot. And I don't know.
All right, let's get going then, Jason.
Let's get going. Let's get going. Okay.
My apologies.
It's okay. We got one more year, and then we can atone for our sins again. So, part of the infrastructure of scaling a partner program is not so much how much you can do on the front end, but really what you do on the back end and what you do, during deployment, then during go live, especially when you're a platform. And where a lot of programs fall down is really how to handle that in a responsive way, whereas you can coach up the partner, you can coach up the team, you can get them really in lockstep with what you're doing, but you could do it in a way that breeds success of results and outcomes that you're really striving for. And I think what the goal is today is to really go from our trusty spreadsheet here, which we will have as a takeaway in the show notes, and how that is really going to deliver value over time, to an organization. So as we could see here, we're started with pre-sales. We have platform modules, deployment, and then post deployments. Basically, we chose the four core pillars of any like SaaS or AI that would deploy into the wild. And then in column D, we have communications, which would be the cadence, tone, and approach. So all the soft skills that go into managing, Ryan, which is really where you come in, and then we have, product management, discovery, we have execution, and then we have, what later phases are. And then we have the actual modules purchased, right? So the nexus here is really platform modules and modules purchased. And then that leads into the next column, which is TCO. Because a lot of times the total cost of ownership is lost, or it's so focused on, you lose focus of the value of things. And then you have customization as expectations. So this is really what we're defining as the basis of truth of the deployment form. Would it be different by client? 100%. Would it be different by company? 100%. But these are really the four core pillars of what we at Partner Awesome are calling our deployment form.
Right. So we use this as the template. We start with something like this.
Right.
And then we customize it or personalize it based upon, the client, their industry, what they want to get out of, the program, things like that. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And it also functions as a quasi post-live audit, because I know when you and I were in different positions, we call it a post-mortem or a post whatever. And it's kind of like, I never liked that term because it was always very macabre, but this is like a post-deployment, thing. So now what we're going to do is, how do we turn this into an actual functioning application that businesses can leverage in order to improve their partner program? So what we did here is that we dumped the deployment form into our trusty friend Miro, and let's move this guy over here. And then what we did is that we created an actual working model of how we can either integrate existing project management software into the deployment form, existing integrations into the deployment form, and turn it into a living, breathing application. And what was fascinating here, within this diagram is that we have, the project team, we have, the implementation team with the methodologies, we have expectations, we have communications, we have, the client and what the client's up to, we have the future planning, And then up here, we have the scope and we have the discovery. Now, the fascinating thing here is that once it goes into scope and once we have the pricing, this area over here really becomes, ground zero, for everything. I'm just gonna kind of take my trusty little marker here. I'm going to go in here and like look at this area in particular because this area becomes, you know, the the situation room. Kind of type that out here. This is where all the decisions are made. This is where things are greenlit that are not currently in scope, and this is really where all the critical thinking happens in this like situation room. So you have your platform modules, you have your pricing, you have the project team, you have the implementation team, you have the scope. And when all five of these come together, this is really where, if you're a partner manager or the technical partner manager managing a project, these are
Mhm.
really some of the key things that you want to be able to have your hands on at all moments in time. Now, all of this leads into, as we like to call it, a partner awesome, the E word, which is expectations, right? So all the expectations are set by what comes out of that situation room. And then the
Yeah.
expectations then are critical path to the communications. And what's getting lost in the world right now is really, this kind of loop, because a lot of times we try to automate so many things today with AI and with sometimes like with overthinking, like you and I were talking about before. But this is really, if you want to look at it at its core, this is really effective partner management, during the time of a deployment and even post deployment.
Actually, looking at this right now, it reminds me of the pictures that I draw for Riker when he asked me to draw a garbage truck. You got the thing on the back, that comes in. You got the wheels. Yeah, yeah, it's about as good as I would draw.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, let me get the back over there.
Yeah,
Look at
yeah.
some hydraulics
I've
over
driven.
there. The
Yeah,
little thing over here. Maybe we'll have like a little lever that you could pull.
yeah. Riker would love this. Actually, it's his
Yeah,
favorite.
yeah.
He
I'm sure.
loves
I'm
garbage
sure.
trucks.
I'm sure. So, but anyway,
Yeah.
I'm glad that we're declaring dumpster fires on go lives in assassin AI market. But no, seriously,
We've
folks,
all been
seriously,
there.
let's
Yeah.
all right. So we'll go in and get a little bit more serious here.
Okay.
So when we look at this area over here, right? That area itself becomes your situation room. I mean, these are the most critical pieces of the deployment itself, right? And then what we have down here are the other two critical pieces, which are expectations and communications. Because if these are not all managed properly,
Hmm.
then what happens is that everything basically starts to fall apart and you become very reactive. So what we really do here is this is really our responsive framework, right? And the responsive framework is really where I gotta get to the bolt. This is really where success comes from, right? Because
Hmm.
you could do everything possible on the front end to like make your numbers, but if you're not successful on the back end, this is where a lot of things fall down. A lot of organizations push out the partner manager during times of a deployment of software. And our philosophy is keep them in there because they're the ones who have access to all the vendors like that. They're the ones that have all the relationships. They're the ones that could jump in and effectively communicate, client concerns, or they can
Right.
effectively communicate to their vendors because they know them so well. And this is where a lot of value could be had, when you are in that partner manager, role. Yeah, and you could be a manager, you could be a VP, you could be, um, you could be anything. But the main thing is, this is where a lot of value can get delivered quickly. All right. So now, just to review, we'll go right back to our trusty spreadsheet, and then we'll wrap up. So now, just to review, what we're seeing here really is,
Hmm.
is a responsive framework for managing projects with the partner managers, with the scrum masters, with all the different folks involved, and how the partner manager can lay out a form that's basically going to hold the systems integrator accountable for what they're
Yeah.
doing. And then with that accountability will come some very hard conversations at first, But after those hard
Yeah.
conversations are overcome, that's where the success is going to lie.
Right. There's no question here. As you review this form with all parties involved, what fell down?
Right.
It'll be easy to pinpoint. We fell down there. Why? Let's correct it in the future, and we move on. That's it. Instead of sitting around pointing fingers of who might be at fault, it was your fault because of this, and that. This just makes it super clear. We're all professionals here. We want to say, okay, we did fall down right there. We've corrected it. We won't do it in the future. This is it.
Where did 99.9% of the fall downs happen? Management of expectations.
Absolutely.
Right. This is where the majority of the bad is going to happen. Row 6, column I.
Right.
Is really where, I mean, this is really the hot spot, because once those platform modules are purchased and once you get into that deployment phase, you could argue that even goes down to deployment as well. And, even if you look at having ongoing discovery sessions, if you don't have everything in that phase, in this platform modules review and scope review down, I mean, forget it. Like the likelihood of success, goes down significantly. So in a nutshell, how can projects succeed? How can it succeed? We talked about, this could happen bad, that could happen bad. But how can it succeed? The how is really, again, the management of expectations in I6, and then how that progresses down, column I. And then the other place where this whole thing really, really succeeds is within the effective management of the situation room, as well as the communication expectations down below. And as long as both of these areas of management are interconnected, and these two guys are constantly communicating, it doesn't matter what type of project it is. It could be AI, it could be whatever. This is where the success will happen when you get involved with multiple partners, in mid-market to enterprise builds.
Right. It's all about the communication. That's it. That's what I'm hearing.
That's all it is. Communication makes or breaks these projects in major ways. All right, guys, look, I know this episode was a little bit, we kind of nerded out a little bit on the nuts and bolts of the deployment form, but it's important. It's important to know, all the nuances of what could go good and what could go bad, because once you know how to lose, like Wayne Gretzky says, you know how to win. And I would say the same for Travis Kelce, going back to our earlier, statement, Ryan. But fortunately, with the way the 49ers are playing right now and the way Brock Purdy is hitting receivers, George Kittle is not there, Bosa's not there. I got to tell you, even if they make it back to the Super Bowl and they face the Niners, there's going to be some bad blood. And, I think that the next time you say welcome to New York, Kelsey's not going to be wearing the rings. That's all I have to say. At least a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah.
Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, guys, on behalf of Ryan Albretsen and myself, thank you very much for watching. We appreciate you sticking with us with a 3-part episode. If you have any questions, put in the comments below or DM us on wherever you're watching this, and we'll get back to you with any insights. Thank you very much. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon, guys. Thank you for watching Partner Awesome Podcast.